Okay, here we are, IRL. This is my car, and it's just on jack stands. It's got the oil pan underneath it. We have necessary tools here. I'm using Valvoline 5W30. I made sure that I have the correct oil filter. In fact, I didn't. I checked it when I was in my driveway the first time, and I had to return home, return to AutoZone and get another one before I could come back. I used I believe it was a 17mm metric socket to unscrew the oil drain plug. In this case, I had no problems whatsoever loosening it. The last time I attempted this, it was a total utter failure because somebody had jacked up the oil plug, stripped it out using pneumatic wrenches from one of those oil change shops. So I decided to replace the plug while I was in the shop, and I did that, and this time it came right off. This is a specialty tool. It says S40, S80 on it, that I'm using to unscrew the oil filter, which is reusable. We'll get to that in a second. So the meat and bones of it is right here. I've already loosened up my oil plug, and it's right up here. I'm going to position my oil pan in a second here. And so what will happen is I'll create a giant mess real quick. You can see where my hand is. Oil plug is dripping. It's good news for me because it means it's loose. I tell you what, I spent a better part of a day filing one out. Now this is going to be hot, and I'm using it with my bare hand, making sure I catch the washer with it. These gloves are going to offer me some protection here, but I would use caution with hot oil. I didn't want to change it totally cold. I didn't want to change it super full temperature, so I let it cool off a second, and it's easy to do in the wintertime as far as letting your car cool down. I opened up the oil fill cap up on top of the engine, and here we go. Boom. And we'll drain this out, let this drain completely, and I'll move next to the oil filter, and that comes off relatively simply in theory. So hopefully he didn't do anything to jack that up too when I changed it at the oil shop. But I like to wipe this area down. I like to wipe this area down and anything I see with excess oil while I'm under here, because just call it taking pride in your work. Well, this will be draining out. We'll clean that oil up in a second. You can see up top I'm doing that, but extremely comfortable at 30 degrees. There's nothing here that couldn't be done with a simple pair of crappy gloves. It's very easy here at 30. If it was 15 degrees, I'd be losing the tactile usefulness of my hands and all that. So I would never do this when it's colder. Personal preference only. Call me a wuss, but simple tools. Drain the oil into the oil pan, and I'll fill it into the jug when I'm done here. So next thing I'll do is tackle that oil filter. Pretty simple. Unscrew it, change the O-ring, wet the filter, screw it back on, don't cross thread it. Okay, here we are. So I replaced the oil filter, and I wish I could show you, but due to conditions I couldn't. Anyways, I went to Amazon. I bought a specialty tool. It fits over the reusable plastic housing of the oil filter. It's located right here. Very simple. Do not over torque it, and make sure that you lubricate the O-ring, which you should also replace, as well as wet the oil filter with a little oil before changing it, so that way there's no dry lines. Okay, so replace the oil. Well, I drained the oil, I replaced the oil filter, and you can see I'm not a master mechanic. Look at this mess. I had some stuff overfill from my undersized oil pan, and I can also see there's transmission fluid there from an unrelated project. So what a mess. Some definite cleaning up needs to happen after this job is done, and I'll shovel and put kitty litter down and stuff like that. Don't want oil working its way into everything. But anyways, I'm using 5W30. I checked the oil before I changed it. Take special note here, the condition of the oil cap is usually a good indicator of engine health. If you had, say, coolant getting into your system, or moisture from cold weather starts, if your car never quite warms up all the way, you'd see like a yellow froth on there, and things like that can be telltale signs of something going wrong. But that's not the case here. No funny smell. Everything is normal. It's a good time to inspect your fluids. We're burning daylight a bit here, but it's a good time to inspect your fluids when you change oil. So I'm going to put this Valvoline high mileage 5W30 back in and make sure it's at the appropriate level. Here at my dipstick, and that's a done deal. And hopefully it goes smoothly from there. I can't see what's going to really go wrong besides my mess I got to clean up with oil speckles on snow. Yuck. But could have been avoided if some guy wasn't talking to his camera the whole time. But outside, it's what, 28 degrees right now. Definitely comfortable enough to do with these like Hex Armor mechanics gloves. Nothing with any insulating value. It didn't take very long and no issues whatsoever. So I would not hesitate to do this again, as opposed to going to Valvoline Express Lube and paying them $100 and some because it's cold outside. Well, if you have a nice day, utilize it. That's my life advice for the day. But anyways, after I pour this oil in and check it on the dipstick, done deal. Thanks for watching.